For those of you who do not know who I am His Lordship Markawa Kenji Katashige. I'm going to be acting as the MC for the Q&A session because I'm the local representative for the polling deputy from the kingdom. Um, and so we have three pairs of candidates that are interested in becoming our Baron and Baroness. I do have to unfortunately put a small caveat on the discussion tonight in that we are still waiting their Royal Majesty's word on they are to prove the candidates moving forward. Their Royal Majesties are still recovering from the event this last weekend, haven't actually gotten back to us. But I have been instructed to have the candidates move forward as if they've already been approved, and things will get sorted out down the road later as we need to. So I do have a list of questions that we will be giving time for each of the candidates to discuss. Please hold your questions till the very end, and I will try to get some additional questions from the populace at the end, depending on how we are doing for time. And forgive me, I totally spaced looking up the OP, so I'm going to take my best guess as to the order I'm supposed to be doing this. But for just a quick, brief introduction, let us start off with Viscount William Joffrey the Rogue and her ladyship Jack. Jacketta Wild. I didn't actually know your full name until just now. If their computer will let them unmute again.
Okay, maybe?
I think we got you.
Did we kill it?
Okay. I can see and hear you.
Okay. Good evening.
Yay, technical difficulties. Was there a specific question? I apologize if I already forgot it.
Nope, I haven't asked the question yet. Just a quick introduction so everybody can actually put names to faces.
No, I think. Yay, technology.
Okay?
There we go. We can hear you now. It tried to do full screen mode, and that made everything weird.
Okay. So yeah, if you would, just a really quick introduction, just so people can put a name to a face. Just a really quick introduction, so people can put a name to a face.
I'm Viscount Sir William Jeffrey the Rogue. I've been playing forever in a couple days. I have been prince. I have been champion. I have led armies. I have stood as guard. I have lifted and toted and carried. And hopefully have made people's lives better in the overall than otherwise.
I'm Her Ladyship Jacketta Wild, most commonly Jack, because that's what's preferred. But I've been playing quite a few years, and until recently lived in Terra Pomaria the entire time I've been in the SCA. So excited to be here.
Well, thank you. Yeah. All right, and we will move on to Mistress Adele and Master Rafe Newton.
Thank you.
I'm Master Rafe Newton. I've been playing for 20 blah 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 years. We spent a brief time in Madrone, but mostly we've lived here and have enjoyed this place. So
I'm Mistress Adele Newton, and this has been my community and my home for the majority of my adult life. I found the SCA Terra Pomaria specifically in 2002, where I met my eventual husband, and we had our 5 children over the next 20 years. And yes, I call this barony my home. I'm currently the chatelaine, and yeah, that's what we have.
Okay, and on to Lordship Wyston Albright and Her Ladyship Christmas Carol. There you go.
I'm Weiston. I'm the current scribe. I'm also an active member in both the martial disciplines of heavy weapons and rapier. I've been around in the SCA for 20 odd some years, starting first down in Caid and have been active with the Barony since 2016. Have a lot of fun with the SCA. It's a great group to be with, and I'll turn it over to Christmas.
I am Christmas Carol, and little less time in the SCA than him, since he is the reason I'm in the SCA. And yeah, it's been a wonderful journey here in Terra Pomaria. I came up from Caid as well with my lord, and I am, the current seneschal. And yeah, we've held many roles over the years, and we just like to show up and participate with ridiculously cool people. Chosen family. That's what we're here for.
Okay. We got somebody else joining in real quick. I was trying to give him a second. Okay. So on to our first question. And we will change the order of who's answering the questions first, but let's start with the order we just did. So this is going to start off with William, Joffrey, and Jack. What brought you into the SCA, and why do you continue to play?
Is there a question? You might have missed it.
So the question to you two is, what brought you into the SCA, and why do you continue to play?
I was a nerdy little kid, and I loved the tales of King Arthur. I loved pirate movies. I loved Three Musketeers and swashbuckling. And I read all the books and nerded up a storm as a little kid. And in junior high, some of my friends said, "Hey, we're doing this silly thing where we put on weapons and armor and go out and die." And that sounded really cool, but I was young, and they kept saying, "You're a kid." And time kept passing. But I still was really interested. And eventually, when the time was right, I met another guy. I went from just hanging out to fighting rapier, to fighting heavy, to holding offices, being a prince. It's my lifestyle, and it is so much of my life. I think what we get out of this game is what we put into this game, and I want to keep making it better. I want to keep making it fun. I want to keep having a great time while other people are having a great time. I mean, this is awesome. And I can't think of anything better than sharing awesome with other people, and finding more people to play awesome with. Fun?
For me, it was stories about the SCA and chosen family. I did not grow up here in Oregon. I grew up in Caid area and then moved to Aidenvelt area, but that was before I even knew about the SCA. And in Aidenvelt, I met people that told me all about it and all these stories. They sounded great, of hanging out, playing music, singing, drinking, tournaments, but they didn't go anymore, and they didn't know when they would want to again. And I had no way of figuring out how to do it. And I moved up to Oregon, and some time passed, and due to a family tragedy, I had been engaged to someone whose father died, and that didn't work out very well. So I ended up meeting a group of people through a friend that said, well, then we're going to adopt you, and you're our family now. You're going eventing with us. It was a different event group, but some of them had done the SCA prior, and they had their own stories of the SCA, and it all sounded great, but nobody wanted to go. And finally, one day, Facebook said, "Hey, like 3 of your friends and someone else you know look like they're interested in this SCA event in Terra Pomaria." And I said, "I'm going." "Okay, let's go. I'm dragging you to my first event. We're going." And that's how I got into it, was in TP, and it was just a really welcoming community. Everybody embraced me. They wanted to try and get me into everything. His Excellency actually was one of the first people I saw walking in the door, and he offered me smoked meat and cheese. And I had a great time, and I've been here ever since, just hanging out with my friends, being what I call a retinue junkie because I love hanging out with my friends so much. And all the other fun activities like bardics and stories and watching everybody fight. So I stay for the chosen family.
Well, thank you. And moving on to Adele and Rafe.
Thank you. So I think I was looking for the SCA my whole life. When I was a child, my sister and I role played lots of different stories, and it always came back to kings and queens, princesses, ball gowns, all the things. And then I remember telling my parents at one point, when I grow up, I'm going to just wear Victorian dresses all the time, and I don't care what the rest of the world is wearing. And they thought I was crazy. And then when I was a teenager, I was at a local retreat and tried to put on a skit that I was just writing on the fly. And one of the adults that I recruited as one of my characters for the story said, "You don't have any costumes. I've got costumes. You want costumes?" Like, sure. So we went to his pickup and he pulled out chainmail and shields and swords and tunics. And I was so confused. What kind of person runs around with this? Are you in plays? What is this? And that was the first time I heard the word SCA. So I asked, well, what is this? All of us were very curious what this was. And he talked about how, so this was in probably 94, possibly. And he was talking about how we have these events, these tournaments, where we fight and choose by combat a prince and princess, not king and queen. I remember that. It was prince and princess who reigned for about 6 months. So I suspect it was on his mind because we had just become a principality around that time, or it was definitely a conversation. So that really made an impression. I was excited. I wanted to go. I asked him, can I go? And he said, you are underage. No. And he would not have anything to do with me. He said, you look for the SCA when you grow up. And of course, as a child, I had no concept how to save the words SCA. So I didn't come back until well, I looked for it. I knew it was a concept and that it was local. So every time I would go to Borders Books or anywhere that had a bulletin board, I would check the bulletin board for something I didn't even know what it was, and I couldn't find it. So in 2002, I was throwing a costume party for my birthday, and it was a history-inspired costume party. And I asked all of my friends to come as a character from history and tell us about themselves as kind of a educational plus costuming fun party. And in researching my personal character, which I had chosen Lady Jane Grey, I was looking for a costume. At that time, I didn't really sew. I had not been introduced to the joys of crafting, and I kept finding websites that mentioned the SCA and that this was appropriate for the SCA. And I absolutely thought that it was a governing body that determined whether costumes were quality. I just could not place what this thing was that had anything to say about costumes. And so it took me a while before I finally clicked the link. Who is this organization that has anything to say about costumes? And my world changed from that moment. I'm like, this is it. I have found it. I was so excited. So the moment I found it, I reached out to the local chatelaine, which was Catherine Whiting of Terra Pomaria. And she wrote back to me within an hour, and we talked back and forth. And she said, we have Kaylee tonight. Come on out. And I like, I don't have a costume. I have no idea what's happening here. She said, just come. We have Gold Key. But being me, I had to be prepared. So I said, next month. And I spent the next month buying a simplicity pattern, researching fabric, doing all the things. And I had a full costume that I had made on my grandmother's treadle sewing machine by the next Gaily, which is when I met Rafe and had no idea that this was my future, but he became my best friend from that night forward. We spent the next couple of years checking out events, learning about the society together. He was about a year more into the SCA than me. And yeah, I found what I was looking for. What keeps us coming back? You asked what keeps us coming back. For me, it's the continuing dream, the belief that we can always do better. I didn't know who I was at the time, but I was allowed that space to create my image, my persona, and explore my values amongst a lot of people that had totally different thoughts, views, histories. And it was a free place to just learn about others as well as myself. And it helped me find purpose, fulfillment, and joy in both the society, and it does reflect into my modern life. So that's my story. Okay.
First heard about the SCA at a school demo in grade school.
In Terra, one of you people, took what, chainmail was it?
Yeah, chainmail, couple little items, showed it around. They it was just really simple. Answered questions about Greek fire from me, and
you were hooked.
yeah. I kept looking for it in newspaper articles because it would show up every so often.
At least you had access to newspapers. My family didn't get newspapers or TV. I had to wait until I found bulletin boards. It was hard. Without the internet, I wouldn't have found the SCA.
I would run into people in town that had armor in the back of their truck, and I'd go and, hey, what are you doing? How are you doing that? Where do I find this? And they'd tell us, but usually I'd only find out afterwards because of the newspaper articles. Found it on local access TV once. Just, oh, the SCA is a group and you can join it. But it only had a phone number. So eventually I talked my friend into going to a few events. Jean-Jacques. He had his mom take us to, I think it was a long and short in like 95. We and we met Grendel. Jean-Jacques described him as this lumbering giant mass of a person coming towards us. And he seemed about average size to me.
Well, you, of course.
Well, and we then went to a couple Rivers regional demos. I picked up my first belt.
That's right. Is that the one you still have?
Yep, I still have that one. Still wear it.
Yeah, but which event was it you pulled in and his dad said,
oh yeah,
they're wearing bird cages on their head and peeled
that
out.
was a long and short there.
He wouldn't even let you out of the car.
Yeah. He said, do you want to go to a gym show instead?
A gym?
We're like, no,
this.
take us back. Anyway, eventually I tucked Jean-Jacques into going and camping, and we went to Ontario West Ward 01, and we met Dara, who said, oh yeah, come over here and camp with me, because we couldn't find a spot. It was, yeah, people kind of driving us away going, we don't know where Terra Pomaria is, just go over there somewhere. But Dara was the Gold Key then, I think. She's like, no, camp next to me, you're fine. And that's where we found our SCA family.
Yep. When I started, that was the first thing you did, was make sure that I had people to camp with. Yep. Terra Pomaria. Immediately, the officers of Terra Pomaria just adopted me.
We formed the officers club and camped at all the major events together, and eventually they became Trails End Inn.
I think so. We had gotten pretty busy by that time. We had started our family, but they continued for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be forever grateful for the welcoming family we found in Terra Pomaria, amongst the officers in particular.
And
it's still true. The officers of Terra Pomaria are spectacular.
What keeps me still playing? Where do I find people that are interested in the Tudor coin that I made last week and think that it's amazing and something that they want to know how to make? And
right?
The community is amazing, and there's nothing else like it.
Yeah, I think we're here for life. That's it for us.
Well, thank you. All right, I'm moving on to Weston and Christmas.
Okay, well, I came to the SCA through Brotherhood, really. Me and a few of my very close friends happened to be doing the Ren Fair a lot, and one of my friends said, "Hey, I know this other group that does kind of like a Ren Fair, but it's just earlier period." And I was like, "Awesome, sounds excellent." And we went to our first event. Unfortunately, we got there on Sunday during pack up. So I didn't really get to see much my first event, but I did get to meet some really cool people who eventually became fraternal brothers to me and ended up forming a war band. And I just threw everything into the SCA and just had so much fun just playing um, that later down the road, I decided, hey, I really wanted to give back to the SCA and volunteer and support it. Um, why I continue to play is because I just thoroughly enjoy and love it.
I'm gonna throw in 2 cents on that because years ago, he told me he absolutely loved it because when they were broke, gangly 18-year-olds, they sat at a corner of a crossroads at an event with a little sign and cold cans of beans that they were eating out of. And for the rest of the event, they were fed and taken care of.
That is true. The event
So
did take care of us.
they held tall stuff in exchange for, food and stuff. They were like, this is the place for us. Um, so I found the SCA because of him. We met and he said, "Hey, you're pretty groovy. I'm doing this groovy thing. You want to come?" And I said, "Camping, but I get to be a pretty, pretty princess," which I know now is not necessarily the thing, but the idea in my brain was that I was getting to be a pretty, pretty princess. So I was like, absolutely. Worst case scenario, I end up dead. And he proposed, and I said, yes. So this is the life for us. And you're stuck with us no matter what. We vacationed up here to Terra Pomaria before we moved, and we specifically took a weekend vacation at a time when Terra Pomaria was having an SCA event because if we didn't like y'all, we weren't moving. And we loved you, absolutely adored you from event number one. Everybody was incredibly just fun and funny and helpful and supportive and welcoming and warm and just very, very cool people. And we said, absolutely, this is our next chosen family. And you have not disappointed in the last decade. Good job, everybody.
There's a fun mention in the chat if anybody wants to go look. Okay, so thank you very much. And moving on to the next question. This one's going to start off with Adele and Rafe. I'm going to start putting the question in the chat also. Thank you, Baroness, for doing that because I made a great idea. So that was with connection problems, can still see them. I'm also going to ask our candidates to, there are quite a few questions, so try to limit to just a few minutes each time. So Mr. Siddell, Master Rafe, in your opinion, what is the role of the Baron and Baroness?
Okay, so the textbook answer is that they're the ceremonial heads of the barony. They're the representatives of the crown to the barony and the barony to the crown. And in our opinion, they are the stewards of the culture. They help set the tone and how we all interact with each other.
They're also holders of the traditions of the barony, and they keep us together.
There, short and sweet.
Okay, and moving on to Weston and Christmas.
Ditto. Moving on. I'm kidding. No, yeah, that was very well said. It's um the miniature prince and princess that are in the realm that we're in our little lands that are actually not so little, they're quite expansive, but yeah, they get to encourage and support and recognize and yeah, definitely tone setters for what the pace and style of the and culture of the barony is going to be.
And I really see them as really the primary public interface officers as well, because the Baron and Baroness are the people that everyone is brought to when they first come to an event. Is you've got to meet the Baron, you got to meet the Baroness. You are that representative. You're that person that is, for the most part, the first contact for a lot of people. So it's a big public relations and champion of all of the things the barony does, and you spread it far and wide.
And now on to Jack and Jeff, who may have frozen. Oh, there we go. Technology is a wonderful thing when it decides to work.
I have 2 tin cans and some string just in case.
That's a long piece of string.
I know lots and lots of spinners. So to me, I missed some of the stuff because apparently the internet is not being our friend tonight. The Baron and Baroness is the Crown's representative and the people's representatives. They bring the Crown's love to the people and the people's love to the Crown in recognition. They stand as titular heads to give a focus, and yet within that focus, they still only have moderate power. It is only the act of force and will and charisma that they lead the people by example and by hope and deed and inspiration. The first cheerleaders and the last ones to go home at night. Huh?
I mean, that's pretty much like between you and Christmas, I think everything I would have said already got said. So instead of pulling a like pure thing, I'm going to say ditto and I agree.
All right, and thank you. Okay, so moving on to the next question, starting with Weiston and Christmas. How do you see the future of the barony with regards to engaging and encouraging current members?
This is something that we've talked about a lot because it's come up many, many times in my time as Seneschal. We have a very busy schedule. Just in the decade that Weiston and I have been here, the Antier calendar is just so very full. And maybe it's something that ebbs and flows over the decades, and we just don't know that yet. But it's just really, really full, and there's a lot of things that are very far and very expensive and whatnot. And those are great when you get to go to them, but we'd love to see more, like let's have a picnic at the park like we did and teach the kids how to do the finger knitting and stuff like that we did that one day. Making sure that we're bringing the crafting community to fighter practice and archery practice and trying to do more melding of the groups and engagement with each other rather than in our little silos and only to the events that we want to, go with for our little silo. We're a family, we're a community, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there for we think there's a lot of opportunity there for improvement in ways that are very low cost, local options that can be a simple, fun couple hour or an afternoon like thing. And I think that would help a lot, keeping people engaged all throughout the year without as much draining effort, as wonderful as our event teams and stuff are.
Okay. And moving on to Jack and Jeff.
There we go.
Okay, we're just laggy then. Okay. So for current members of keeping them engaged, honestly, things like the Kayleys. I know like some of our fellow candidates are really engaged with those. And socially inviting at fighter practice has been great. It's not just fighters anymore. Socialize. Like the other day, I said, do we want to go to fighter practice just to hang out with people, see who's there? Maybe we showed up, and I was really glad I went ahead and went because there was a good half dozen people there, not just to fight, to actually just hang out. And it's really encouraging of social networking within our barony, and just that communication and keeping in touch with each other and engaged with each other between events. And it's really important to do that. And so keeping stuff like the ANS days or Kaylee's, or like Christmas suggested, even adding in other stuff that combines different disciplines like archery and arts and sciences or martial with other things that aren't just one thing or the other is probably a great way to do that.
Things I see are trying to reignite the sergeantry, move it off the back burner and get that a little more active. Get not only the people within the sergeantry active, but getting them to set the example and show other people the opportunities that road can afford them. As other people have said, bringing things together at fighter practice, at Kaylee, at ANS gatherings. I think any chance we get to all get together and share as a family, we're stronger. We all know and like each other for the most part, anyway. But there's just times we never get to see each other, and I think that's because we just all are ships passing in the night. And there's a lot of times where it just takes that extra effort to encourage someone, like, hey, like fighter practice the other night. Let's not sit on our butts and be lazy. Let's go out and be social, and we can encourage other people. That's the start, is just getting people moving. And once people are moving, things happen.
Oh, sorry. Just sparked something in my memory. Because sometimes it's not just laziness. Sometimes it's depression or life kind of grinding down on you. And when I broke my leg 2 years ago, I was itching to get out of the house. I couldn't drive anywhere myself. I had to take Ubers everywhere. But I knew I could hit up Krista and Corwin for a ride to fighter practice. And they took me so I could have some socialization that wasn't just my roommate or sitting in my basement with my cats. And weirdly enough, there was another guy that showed up who was a friend of Clovis and Jimenez, and he knew maybe two other people that hadn't been around in a couple years for the SCA, but he had just lost his wife the year before. And he thought it was great to just be able to sit there and talk about SCA stuff with me. And he came back several times. He actually came back to our Feast of Apple and Song because of it, because myself and a couple other folks like Juliana had been so nice to him at fighter practice. He just came back to Robin's Revenge, actually, to see if we would be there. Really nice guy named Sam. So it can be a social outreach for people that don't strictly like to go to bigger events or feel comfortable with it, but they know there's someone there.
Community.
Yeah. So anyway, engagement.
Thank you.
Alrighty, and Adela and Rafe.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with both groups on that. Community is everything. I do like the idea of plenty of free local or low cost things to do. When I started, I didn't drive. Rafe didn't drive. We had to stay pretty local to get started. And I think once you've built up those relationships with your local group, that's where it starts. And the stronger you are with your local group, you've made your friends, you've got your carpool figured out, you've got people to camp with, then you can consider expanding out to larger events. So yes, I would love to see the Kayleys continue, of course. and in fact, Jack and William Jeffrey, I mentioned you in my report this month at the work you were doing at the last fighter practice. Jack and I were going around and approaching newcomers. William Jeffrey's been handing out flyers. It's a fantastic way to recruit newcomers, but also gives our members that aren't playing something to come back to when they come back. It can be really hard coming back. We took a break from the SCA. Coming back is a challenge. It's nice if there's a lot going on and a lot of faces and free things to try before having to make any kind of investment.
And a friendly face that knows you or has seen you around and invites you in.
Yep.
I also am interested in encouraging new activities such as foresters or culinary field trips, activities like the rare book tour at the Abbey.
Oh, Audientum's been on it with that. I
Yeah.
love it. How many newcomers do we have just because of what they're doing going up to the Abbey? I'd love to see more of that.
Maybe a baronial trip to Camlin, which is near Seattle. It's interesting
It's a living history property.
living history property. Yeah. Yeah. Just in interkingdom wars, encouraging the travel to those and maybe spark more interest in travel.
You're thinking that because that's what we're thinking.
Yes.
New for us. That's something we haven't done.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
All right. Thank you. Okay, and the next question starts with Jack and Jeff. How are you going to encourage newcomers? Kind of a good segue from what you guys were just talking about.
Just me?
No, both of you. It's the delay thing.
Okay. I've always done my best to try to encourage newcomers with the excitement and passion that I feel about this game. Excitement is always catching. When somebody knows and sees that you are really excited and have a little bit of knowledge, or if you're humble enough to say, I have a little bit of knowledge, but I know someone over there that can really tell you what's going on, that gets minds going, gets people's, and once minds get going, everything else goes. But it's that spark of passion that I've always felt is something that people who are ready for it are going to burst into flames right there and be excited, and people who are kind of questioning about it can see, wow, somebody has strong feelings about this, and someone has spent the time to get to know or perfect or share this with others. This could be kind of fun. I think I want to check this out. I figure, the best way is just to always face to face and share your passion.
For me, I kind of look at people on a case by case basis. It depends on what people are interested in. Obviously, if you have newcomers that come to the event, they're already interested in the event. And at that point, you can just kind of makes them light up and what sparks joy for them, be it something with ANS, like Bardic or Scribal, or potentially the equestrian, or some type of fighting, everything from rapier to heavy. Usually something makes people really interested. Ooh, I want to watch that, or maybe I do want to go try some of that. And you just need to encourage people. I mentioned earlier I had a different eventing community that had kind of gotten me into the full-blown type camping stuff and prepared me for the SCA in that way. And I still do that on occasion. There are people that are very much trying to make it more family oriented for those events. So in the recent years, I've said, hey, since you're trying to move the culture in a more positive direction and a less toxic direction, I've noticed you're wanting to do more family friendly stuff. Have you considered the SCA? Or you like somebody that does what you want to do? Do you like doing the idea of metalsmithing, leatherworking, weaving stuff, dyeing wool, spinning wool, completely tanning a hide, or other similar interesting things, cooking? I mean, we've got all the arts and sciences, 20 different types of fighting, I think, at this point. But it's real easy to reach out to people when you can see what's sparking their joy, because then you can get them connected to things that keep them coming back, that they feel welcomed, they feel like it's a teaching and learning environment, or that their kids are having a fun time and have something to do. It's not just for adults. So essentially just reaching out to people based on their interests, not just, hey, we have all this generic stuff that we're not really like, oh, there's arts and sciences and fighting, want to come? Well, maybe, I don't know. It's nice to tailor it to people's interests, but I don't know. I just like diving into why people do what they do and what they specifically like. So that's more my thing.
Thank you. Moving on to Adele and Rafe.
Yes. Okay. So I think we covered a lot of it for what I would like to do for newcomers, but I would add that beyond easy, low-cost events, I would love to see a space for newcomers to land when they come to events. That would be camping with us or camping with Terra Pomaria as a whole. Say if we're at an event outside of Terra Pomaria, make sure there's a place to land. The land grab part of eventing can be very difficult.
especially on newcomers.
For newcomers, that's hard. And so I would love to see Terra Pomaria just welcome newcomers, especially at events, but also I've been polling various people about what is comfortable and easy when they're new, what is a safe thing to do when you're new and you have no idea what's going on. And what keeps coming up is classes. If you drop into the SCA from say Ren Fair and you have no idea, you're used to shopping and going home with your things. But a nice safe thing to do while you're kind of scoping it out is taking classes. So it's been one of my um, intentions to make sure there's classes at everything from Kaylee to our local events, wherever I can. I like to see classes. It's a nice, easy thing for newcomers.
Um, Also reaching out to the colleges. We have several in town, and if we could just get them. I remember Coeur d'Alene back in the day.
Right?
They even provided free spaces so that we could have events for their college, um, for their students as well as the SCA. And some of those were the funnest events that I went to. And eventually, someday, those college students will be peers somewhere, and it would be nice to bring that to them.
In the next couple of years, I expect a couple of our kids will be enrolling in college. At least two of them are looking at Chemeketa. So I am hoping that that will become an easier option for us, but we'll see. No promises yet. Pardon? I'm not sure what that was. But yeah, those are some of the ideas we've had.
Thank you. And moving down to Christmas in Weiston.
Well, for newcomers, the first thing that pops in my mind is demos. I've been a proud member of many demo teams, and it's something we've done really well here in the Barony. And I think reinforcing and doing even more demos to get us new members. I mean, as you can see from this very panel, we had some people that were bought in from demo interaction. You never know when that young kid that's seen chainmail for his first time is going to possibly be the next Baron. So, hey, let's do some demos. Let's get the word out there about the SCA, and that really will help bring in some new members.
And mine is sort of a bridge between that and what Adele said. The going to your first event is a big leap for some of us. And having a point of contact, a place where you know that according to the rules of this new thing that you're trying, you belong. Um, all the difference in the world. My very first event, they quite literally moved tent stakes to fit our little pop-up in between everybody else's. And as awkward as that was, it made all the difference in the world on these are my people, because they were willing to do essentially anything to make sure that we felt welcomed and cared for. And a key part of that for me is going from the class, from the demo to the actual participation of it, and not just participation for their own sake, but the satisfaction that you can get from the usefulness of being a true part of the community or society. So learning the thing, whether at a demo or at a class at your first event, and then saying, okay, take this thing home. Next month, when you come back, I want to see what you've done with it, and start setting those kind of dates or encouraging reminders of like, hey, no, we're still doing a thing. And absolutely, I want to see what progress you've made, or what ideas or questions you have. So write them down and we'll discuss it in 3 weeks or whatever it is. So setting up that sort of recurring pace, a goal essentially, however small, so that there is an automatic in the next time as well. because soon, 3 or 4 times in, and you're like, no, I belong here and it's fine. And I can go wherever I want and explore the new things. And yeah, sometimes that can take years, but yeah, that's the key.
All right, thank you. So, next question, starting with Adele and Rafe. Do you have any plans for major projects within the barony?
Foresters Guild, I would love to see more of that, of course. Um, Encouraging the updating of the customary and the award descriptions. There's a lot of online documents that really need to be updated. I think I looked at the event report today, final event report, and it was made in 07. So pretty close to where I started.
And I'm pretty sure people have been working on it behind the scenes. They just need to be published.
Yeah.
We would love to work on encouraging that to happen. Because I know the work has been done over the years. It's just not accessible.
Yeah.
Christmas and Wyston.
I appreciate you volunteering to be one of the people to read through that and find the errors and correct the things. Yeah, it's been an interesting journey to learn how to update those documents, or we still haven't learned it all because clearly they're not there yet. So yeah, hopefully before I step down as seneschal, that will be a thing. As far as other big projects, the main things are making certain things in the website, in the welcoming packets, in the policies, in the whatnot, clear so that it's not so overwhelming. Maybe we talked about doing some, what do they call them? Just like the one sheet guidelines of like, this is what a customary is, and this is what kingdom law is, and just a little brief thing. And most of it, like Adele said, is out there. It's just a matter of locating it, consolidating it, putting it specifically to Terra Pomaria's use, and the culture that we're trying to cultivate here. And of course, all the arts and science things. I have a very long list of arts and science projects that I love to see. The first time I ever saw anybody do a year-long project that they were publishing and encouraging others to participate in was here in Ontario after we moved. January, we're making underwear, and February, we're making the hat, and so on and so forth. And that I would love to do more of.
For me, as far as big projects, what I would like to see is actually kind of building on the sergeantry that we have now. We've got some really great existing sergeants, and we've had great candidates that have come in, but they don't really do anything outside of major events. And I'd like kind of to build those social bonds between the sergeantry members and get them active in doing things as a group. So that would be what I would like to do.
Thank you. And Jack and Jeff.
So mine kind of fits into this and also a little bit developing officer corps because I thought of it earlier today. As some people might know and a lot of people might not know, I'm currently finishing up a master's in human resources. And so my human resource person looked at how many officers roles that we don't have or don't have deputies for and automatically kicked into recruitment and talent development mode and said, maybe we should try to encourage more people in the populace to do deputy opportunities. As kind of like I said earlier, for newcomers, if you see somebody's got a bit of an affinity, maybe not in talent, maybe it is talent, maybe it's just interest, and you don't have to be great at something to really love doing it. But if someone is interested, say in arts and sciences, be like, hey, would you want to be an officer's deputy? So you don't have the full commitment of being an officer, but you can still learn about the role. It can be for a finite amount of time, or maybe you do want to step into the full role later. Same with marshal stuff. We have marshal officers. We have officers for social media. We have officers for stuff that people have probably not even heard of a lot of the time. And so if somebody seems to like maybe doing like they're interested in the live stream. They're not doing it yet, but they're interested, or they like taking lots of photos, and that would something too. So that's kind of a project I'd like to do, is try to work on funneling more people into the idea of, you don't have to just be in a core group of friends or just know other people that are excellencies or whatever to become an officer or a deputy. It can be anybody, and sometimes that helps people on their path as well, if maybe they're interested in doing the martial path or like a peerage path of some kind, and they just don't know how to get started or where to find an officer role that's open. So I feel like it would be a good project to do, and it encourages more involvement with folks, especially if they can't do something in person all the time. Like, I know Lindis has been doing stuff behind the scenes all over the place because she can't always show up in person, and that's how she stays involved. And there's other members we have that do too. But yeah, that's my kind of little project, was how do we try and uplift the members of the barony into being more involved and also on their path at the same time. I know you had a project too. Sorry.
I have so many projects, but to begin with, I agree with Weiston. The sergeantry needs to get a jump start. I remember the heyday of the sergeants. The same thing with the champions. Sergeants and champions should be the ones that are standing in court first up, should be fighting for the opportunity to represent their excellencies. It's a wonderful position. You fight hard to earn either a championship or your belt as a sergeant, or yeoman, gallant, courtier. You fight hard. You work hard to get those. You work to get those responsibilities. You should then enact those responsibilities. That's kind of a big thing for me. The other thing I'd like to see, being as a man of war, I'd like to see Terra Pomaria have a stronger presence on the battlefield when the crown or the cornet calls, whether it's the sergeantry forming a lance of foot or the barony coming together to build siege engines to join in with the siege corps. The best thing about it, it's not just the fighters. It's people to support the fighters. It's people to sing the fighters in, beat the drums, create the tabards, fly the flags. There's an immense amount of stuff to bring lots of people together around one joyful activity, which is war and stomping your enemies in the crowns to pull off. Dun, 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 the Terra Pomaria levy. Let us.
Alrighty, thank you very much. And at this moment, I would like to take a quick browse for our sponsor. Sponsor is Terra Pomaria, which, by the way, is looking for multiple officers and/or has officers looking for replacements. If you are interested, please contact the Seneschal and/or that office. Now, moving on to the next question. And I lost my place. I got to figure out where I am again. This one starts off with, I believe, Christmas and Weiston, if I didn't lose my spot completely. Terra Pomaria is a large area. It can take up to 3 hours or more to drive across it. How would you bring everyone together?
We've we definitely talked to True and Temperance about this a lot recently. They travel everywhere, which educational folks and having the summer off does help, but still, it's a lot of planning and effort. And one of the things that they have tried to do is set up a regular visiting of the areas near them. And I think that's totally doable, something we could achieve, and just essentially, okay, what's east of here, what's west of here, what's south of here, so that at least once a year, or however the schedule works out, that we are able to kind of have one of those, like gather at a park down in that area, or have the event down in that area, up in the other area, whatever it is. We also like the idea of, and you can stop me if I'm talking too much. We also like the idea of doing more of those combined kind of activities. Like, we're about to help with Acorn Wars, that is just down the road from us here in Terra Pomaria. And so that's an opportunity to just partner with our community around us. And that helps as well, because if they're coming to their borders and we're going to our borders or thereabouts, we're definitely including a larger circle of people in that.
Yeah. And the other thing is we are lucky in this day and age is we do have technology now that makes virtual meetings much more possible. So, continuing to provide a digital presence at our activities is paramount to providing inclusivity to those that can't travel.
We were talking about the potential of like essentially like a watch party, but like, hey, we're going to do this fiber art activity here. You can gather with some folks at your place and do it over there, but we will do it on the same night at the same time and somehow connect. I am not tech savvy enough to know how that looks or how that works, but it's an idea that we have discussed.
And Jack and Jeff. And it looks like they are still lagging, so we'll give the computer a moment to catch up. We need a fiber optic line from them to Zoom.
I'm gonna let's see. So it was talking about how Terra Pomaria is very large, trying to get everyone in Terra Pomaria together. I mean, we stretch to the coast. We are a very large barony. From what to try and bring some of our events closer, hit and miss results. Just seems to me that the best option would be to look at what members we have and where they are scattered in Terra Pomaria, because of course not all of them are probably at the coast that are still on the farther outreaches of our barony. But touch base with those that are less centralized and see what they think barriers are to their participation. Um, we might have a different view on what they think their barriers are. And so, like, the digital option definitely might be a barrier for some folks, and it's certainly a great solution. Other folks, it might just be they could travel, but only so far. So, I mean, once you can understand what the barriers are that they're looking at, we can try and find something that works for more of the populace. So that way we're not leaving out anyone or excluding anybody. And we're also not trying to alienate other folks in our barony just to try and include a couple others. I mean, I feel like there's got to be a balance and some solutions to that.
But she said she's the smart one on this.
Yeah, removing barriers, I guess.
Okay. And Rafe and Adele.
Yes, well said, Jack. So we have a few thoughts. One in particular is we just got back from July coronation, and it really hit us how lucky we are to have the coastline in the barony of Terra Primaria, because that site, the climate was incredible. The site needed a little more tending. It was pretty hilly, and they had mowed Scotch broom. So
Lots
those
of stubble that's
so
very sharp.
that stubble was going up through everything, shoes, tents, but it was still just, it had so much potential climate wise. And sure, it was a drive, but it wasn't that bad of a drive. And we're talking, that was up in Astoria, seaside area. And we have so much that's even closer. I would love to explore sites along our coastline. And then you had some ideas.
Yeah, if the further reaches of the barony felt that they needed to again, forming a branch. We've also heard that the society might be looking at a smaller branch form that would have less requirements and be still tied to a barony, but they would be able to work under the barony to form their own group. And we would definitely encourage that.
We'd keep an eye out for that happening. If smaller than a canton, they were saying
Yeah.
a single representative. I don't remember what the name was, but they were talking. Now, I don't know if it'll happen, but it's being discussed, the idea of an even smaller outpost that could be run. So we'll be keeping an eye on that just in case that happens.
Thank you. Rose Atherton is thinking it was called a hamlet, which honestly, I remember the discussion, but I don't remember details anymore at this point. So, going back to Jack and Jeff to start off this next question. There are three pillars of the SCA: the martial, arts and science, and the service. How would you support each as the Baron and Baroness? Three pillars of the SCA: the martial, arts and science, and the service. How would you support
Through participation, quite honestly. I mean, I am primarily a fighter. I fight. I do cut and thrust. I fling arrows in random directions. Uh, but in addition to that, I also, I show up for arts and sciences days here and there where I can. Championships I've held, I have either replaced or upgraded regalia, and that's an example that can be set by champions. I'm not the best at artsy stuff. Partial path again to bring me into service as champion, tending barons and baronesses, to be their traveling companion, to be someone to stand behind them and get what they need in court, to be there to help visiting dignitaries that come to the barony. And there's a lot of think about where they're coming from, the most. But we patch our arm artsy. Most people don't necessarily realize it as much or think beyond me patch clothes. Standing up and serving. I mean, most of us, as soon as we pick up sword and shield or blade and buckler, we aspire to serve the land by being a champion, or even hope to one day stand to reign over the land as a ruler. But all of that comes with the path. Service is that path, and that's. You know, I'm only in recent years really learning exactly how that's all part of what I've done. But now that I know it, I can share it with others, not just my squires. I want to share it with I share it with anybody who's willing to talk to me for more than 5 minutes about what I'm doing. But I guess in my own long-winded way, I love it all. I might not always be seen leaping up and down as a cheerleader for it, but I'm always encouraging something somewhere. And I think as long as that continues, I can find a bigger platform to stand on and cheer for more people. And somebody might even listen to me once in a while. I'm rambling, sorry.
Participation is a big thing. I've tried to get into fighting myself, but unfortunately, right when I got my kit together, I broke my leg, and then there was a bit of recuperating and several life events, and here we are, me still not heavy fighting. But I did get into Siege this year, and I got to do it at war, and I think that would help encourage other people to maybe want to do Siege, just like seeing other cool people doing archery or reaching out to folks about, hey, we have the archery practice going on Tuesdays. You guys should show up. Hosting events like Robin's Revenge that was focused more around that than just the heavy was an interesting thing to do, or like the ANS type events that we have on occasion, or bigger ANS contests. It's that participation and encouragement that really builds up the community. And telling people it doesn't have to be perfect, whatever you do, be it playing a bardic piece, like when we have the youth championships and contests, we're saying you don't have to be perfect here, just participate, come try it out. And that's how you end up building people up into the amazing adults that we have in our society. And a lot of it is intertwined. Like Jeff said, I mean, just as a fighter, sometimes you do have regalia if you do anything well. And that does tie in also to that needing repairs or having to at least work with someone that does arts and sciences for whatever reason. to learn, but you can still reach out to somebody to teach you or help you with it. And service goes with that as well. I think one of the smartest, most self aware things I ever heard a fighter say when he was asked why he wasn't fighting an attorney on the upcoming weekend was, that comes with a job, and I don't want that job, so I'm not going to fight in that attorney. And I thought that was very profound. I love to fight. He was going to sit this one out because it is a job to be a defender. It really all goes together. Of that service is tied to it. So, yeah, participation. I think reach out into other areas, like do some of the archery or the fighting or martial stuff. If you also like arts and sciences, or if you like service, do that as well.
If a great oaf like me can do embroidery, anybody can.
I think I'm getting to rambly part. But...
Well, thank you. And moving to Adele and Rafe.
Definitely what William Jeffrey was saying, being the biggest cheerleader for all of the activities. I love doing everything, and I have more fun when I'm mixing it all together, and so much so that I don't know which one I'm actually doing. So archery while making the bow, while marshaling it also, kind of thing.
Well, putting the event on that it's happening at. No.
Sort of, but yeah, that's.
I honestly think our barony is really balanced of the three pillars. I'm more involved with the arts and sciences and service side of it, but I definitely see a strong martial community as well. And I think I would love to support all three. Yeah. I think the barony is very much on track. Just keep going.
Christmas and Weiston.
Well, I'm definitely active in the martial community, and I am currently serving as the scribe. Although I am not very artistic, I do support them.
You do well.
But yeah, it really, as a B&B, I really think it is being that champion and bringing the knowledge of the cool things that are happening within the barony to the rest of the society, and back to the populace as well, to let them know, hey, cool things are happening. We should be doing more of this stuff. That's the best part about being a B&B is you're that conduit. You're that communication channel. You're that champion.
And I'm a giant fan of cross training. I know that's not necessarily specifically the subject we're looking at here, but one of my favorite things about the SCA is when you get to see someone like William Jeffrey do the fighting and the raw, right? But then you also get to see him do something delicate or silly or fun, and that fills my heart so much faster than any of the just specific like fighting. Not that I'm putting the martial art down, just simply that crossover that can happen where in order to participate in a martial art activity, you have to perform something or display one of your arts, or an artist gets to participate in something fun like a Boffer's kind of tourney. Or just something where there's no limitations and it's all for silliness and joy and fun and the experience of the camaraderie of it all. Yeah, I would love to see a lot of that because it makes me happy.
Okay, so the next question we have actually kind of touched on quite a bit already, but I still want to go through it in case there's something specific you want to highlight. And this is starting off with Adele and Rafe, and that is, what plans do you have for the sergeantry program?
We'd love to hit the ground running with it. Have our first sergeantry meeting at the next event, the fall event. Encourage participation in the sergeantry.
Specifically for both the current and former.
Yeah, encourage the current and former sergeants that they have a place in our court if they're willing to come with us. Also finding ways to get them more recognition and get them together.
Christmas and Weston.
That speaks to a little bit of what we were talking about. We have been fairly chill and not as a loud herd sergeantry group in the last several years. There's been a lot of service from everyone that's part of the sergeantry and a lot of activities and participation within specific realms. But we're all sort of following our own journey, which there is nothing wrong with, but getting us to be our own sort of brotherhood is would be a wonderful thing, to see us more warmly welcoming each other and participating in that way, and totally taking responsibility for our portion of not doing that yet.
Yeah, it's building that social network again between the existing and welcoming in the new candidates, and really building the social activities that happen not necessarily at events, but on the downtime and in between, that help reinforce and build bonds. I think that's really key to what makes the sergeantry functional. And I really want to see that start up again.
A community, a resource. Yeah. That.
And Jack and Jeff.
Unmute it. There we go.
Okay, the unmute works. Hey. As I've said earlier, I mean, reigniting the sergeantry is one of those big plans. It's a community, and it should always be a community. People who have worked hard to achieve the right to be part of the sergeantry. That's a big thing. And sometimes in quiet times or in fallow times, you forget that your community, or you forget that what you've done is something more than others to get to that stage. I think, for my own part, I've dabbled in lots of different things, but were we to be chosen as Baron to oversee the courtier program, that's something that will teach me a lot of new stuff. I'm excited to that. I can have them teach me while I work with them to find the new path. See?
Yeah. I mean, really, a lot would just be like Christmas and Weiston. There we go. Pointed out words. I can do them. That getting the current sergeantry kind of more utilized and as a unit again would be a great thing to do, and something that we want to look at, of finding ways to utilize them and lift all of them up kind of on their path, if they need any, if obviously selected, do you need any assistance on the Baronial level or with networking or something like that to kind of help you on whatever your path is.
Shh, it's okay.
With service or otherwise.
It's okay. Bad puppy dreams.
Yeah.
Come on, buddy.
But also looking to recruit and try to grow the sergeantry as well. Which, I mean, that kind of comes back to participating with like martial and arts and things like that, and service of participating in those things. You can kind of recruit more people into the sergeantry path potentially, from folks that are I guess interested in trying to progress with each discipline, but also learning about it with them, based on how it's split up. So I guess I'd get martial, but I mean, mostly I'm just going to teach people, go do siege. It's fun to drop stuff on people's heads. But yeah, it'd be fun to be able to utilize the
Would
sergeants.
Siege come under yeoman as
I
a
don't
candidate?
know. But the point is, it'd be nice to reunite the sergeantry and also see if they want to help or have any ideas in recruitment efforts as well.
It's a great chance for us to better ourselves while other people follow a path to better themselves as well. I think.
Okay, so the next question starts off with Weston and Christmas. How do you intend to develop your officer corps?
Well, obviously, the biggest thing we're in need of right now is deputies. I mean, that is a huge thing that we're currently lacking. We've got a lot of really skilled officers, but burnout's going to happen if we don't get new blood in there. So, really pushing the narrative of bringing new deputies in, being that champion to push that out and say, "Hey, have you thought about maybe bringing a deputy in or?" talking to a new member and saying, "Hey, you've got some talent in this. Have you thought about being a deputy?" And making those connections between the officers and the potential candidates is vital to helping grow that core. So that's really where I see it is being that champion for bringing in deputies.
In the hunt for a deputy seneschal, there's been a lot of interesting conversations and a lot of folks that not specifically about the seneschal role, but eventually ended up being about just another aspect of the society of like, hey, you haven't been an officer or you haven't been an officer in a long time. Is that something you're interested in? In which case, which one? And how can we guide you to that? Do you want to try being a deputy or uh, little bits at a time, just sort of encourage more participation across the board? Um, and one of the things that we're sort of getting into trying is um, essentially having the deputies rather than just being the role and a deputy in case of taking over the role, but more of a split of duties where, yes, the person who's doing the job is doing A, B, and C, but then we have the deputies that are taking care of, D, E, F, G, but little bits so they can kind of learn as they're adapting and be more ready to take on the role. It makes it much less of a jarring and energy consuming thing if you can have it in little bites, at least for people like me. So that's definitely one of the goals. It took me 3 years to learn that, but yes, we're getting there.
And Jack and Jeff. Nope, I think our lag kicked in again.
Okay, more lags. Assuming that was us again.
That is you two again.
So okay, great. Like I was saying earlier during the projects type thing, that is something I definitely have given a lot of thought to, as far as trying to recruit people to the deputy roles, because that you don't really get a channel of talented folks in to do those roles if you don't try and recruit people. Like I said earlier as well, if you see people are interested in stuff, make suggestions. Occasionally you'll see posts that are like, hey, there's like 3 or 4 or even 5 roles that are coming. And that can be a little overwhelming at times, specific ones of, hey, you've got interest in like this particular thing of Scribble, and I've also noticed maybe you do some fighting. Are you interested in maybe learning to be like a marshalet type officer, or are you interested in maybe doing that type of Scribble, or someone that doesn't really know what to do, but like, hey, I've noticed we put you at gates sometimes to meet folks. Are you interested in maybe learning how to be like an exchequer or something similar? Because it's not identical to what they're doing, but it's related. And maybe it's something they haven't thought of before.
I'm just like Kenji's reaction.
You guys can't hear it, but the exchequer was cheering when you said that.
But the point is, yeah, try to get people in touch with things that maybe they didn't think about before, or at least with folks who've done the role before. Even if it's not a current officer, we have folks who say have been like shadowlings before. And I know Adele Newton is going to be very loath to give up her role as shadowling, but there's other folks who've been shadowlings. So like Summits just came up. And there's all kinds of folks you could talk to that have been a shadowling before. Like Ainsley, I think, has been a shadowling too. Of, hey, if you're interested, see what they think the role is. And then if that doesn't maybe sound interesting to you, we can connect you to other folks or maybe give you other directions to look at. And I mean, deputy role can be very temporary as well, of maybe you try it for 6 months to a year and they're like, maybe I want to try out a different role instead. But it's still helping the barony. It's still all helps out the officers that they're under. It helps share the workload, like Christmas was talking about her idea, which sounds like a great idea, by the way. But it gives a lot of new exposure to folks of different things they can do in the barony and how it works. So recruitment definitely would be a good way to help with developing the officer corps, but also maybe seeing what support they feel they need in current roles of whoever already has it. What do they think would help them out and make the load a little bit easier potentially as well?
100% agree.
Alrighty. Adele and Rafe.
Yes. Okay. So we have some very specific ideas how we want to develop the officer corps. You have to remember that that was what brought us community when we started playing. The officers were very welcoming to us and made the SCA accessible through volunteering. So anyway, as far as being very specific, I would love to encourage a hybrid business meeting. It's a way for our newcomers to see what makes the barony work behind the scenes, and it's a lot of fun. We are a very social community. We are a village.
Create a safe social space for new people to show up to, and then they find out that, well, there's also neat things to do as an officer.
Yes. Yes. So I would love to see a hybrid. I would love to see us meet somewhere centrally located. And I would love to see it streamed for those who can't make it. I mean, we have a lot of people in the barony who just can't travel at night, or mobility is an issue, or distance. But I would love to see both. I would love to see a place where we can get together and socialize and share our business. It's dear to my heart. Also, one more thing. We like the idea of a baronial encampment. We already mentioned that. We would want a place for newcomers to share space, and especially officers, and we can all, share and see. And of course, there's peer pressure when you're around other people talking about how we're going to run the next event, what you're doing as an officer. That peer pressure plays a part as well. So those were our ideas on how to develop the officer corps, and very excited about that part.
Thank you. And the next one goes back to Jack and Jeff. And I do want to thank everybody who's been hanging in with us, because I know this is kind of running long. I do only have a few more questions. But the next question is, what do you see as Terra Pomaria's responsibilities in regards to the summits? Jack and Jeff, if you didn't hear me, it's up to you guys again.
Okay, we didn't hear it.
We're kind of assuming if you're quiet and no one else's screen pops up at this point.
Well, it's twofold as well. The barony has responsibilities to the summits as well as the crown. The barony gets its power from the crown of Antir, and that's part of its service. So not only is serving the principality what it needs to do, it needs to follow what the crown needs as well. Being a strong barony with populace that's engaged and active is the primary, I'd say one of the primary things. Creating my brain just skipped tracks. But when all the groups function well together, the overall everything functions better. Um, so the barony is one of the larger groups, is a linchpin. All three baronies have their roles to play in setting up both a culture of hierarchy with the crown's representative and the people, uh, activities within that boundary, and by serving the barony, it serves the principality and it serves the kingdom. So strong one makes strong everything.
Specifically for the summits, I mean, it obviously applies to the kingdom as well. We're one of three baronies, I believe, and then there's a few shires, but three baronies. So I feel Terra Pomaria's real role for the summits is to interact with those other locations, to try and support, say, Adiantum and Glendufen, and uplift them and show that Terra Pomaria is full of people that are happy to help out and to participate in other groups' arts and sciences or tournaments. Because then in turn, when we do that, then it encourages them to come over to us and to experience what we have to offer at our events. It We all thrive when we thrive together and support each other. And so that's kind of how I feel, especially in a baronial role. It's our job to work with the other, like, barons and baronesses, or the other, whoever's in charge of events in shires, to try and uplift the great. And we look like good neighbors, and then they want to come be good neighbors to us as well, and we all have a better time.
Then the war happens.
Well, wars with the Westies, that's fine.
There have been a history of some, friendly wars between the different baronies. Adele and Rafe.
Well, we're responsible for holding summits events on the rotation schedule. We're also, like Jack was saying, one of the three baronies in the summits, and we should definitely be looking at supporting our neighboring shires and creating better contact with them. As someone who pulled to have Terra Pomaria join the summits, I love the community that we've built, and the camaraderie that we've built over these last several years. It's a wonderful place.
Summits.
Christmas and Wisden.
Well, kind of like everyone's been saying, the principality and the barony relationship is in fealty, and that essentially breaks down to a mutual aid compact. We've agreed to support each other in times of need. So we are the front line to the principality when they need help. They call out to the baronies. Um, so we're there to support them, and we're also there to call on them when we need help. So it's a two-way communication, and we have to respect that.
Yeah. And sometimes it's as simple as that whole reaching out to borrow equipment or loan equipment, and having structures in place to already accomplish those things when they're asked for, is very, very helpful, because then we are truly connecting through not just emotional but physical ways as well. And yeah, it can make everything much more achievable, affordable, achieving the pageantry goals like Jeffrey was talking about earlier. Yeah, I think there are a lot of ways we can encourage the work between us and our neighbors in helping with each other's events, without causing burnout.
Thank you. And the next question starts off with Adele and Rafe. What areas within the SCA that are normally underserved would you like to bring attention to?
Okay, so as I've done for the last few years, I've been working with the live stream to try to bring port and important activities to those who can't travel who are stuck at home. What are your thoughts? Families,
Yeah,
children.
young families with children definitely need more support. More youth activities would help.
We want to make sure people are personally welcomed and understand how to get involved and help to find activities that suit their interests and their needs.
Yeah.
So, keeping that short.
Christmas in Weston.
Totally cheesy answer, but I can tell that some folks are approaching the same bedtime that I have. So I'm going to say inclusion for all people that have different bedtimes than those that like to party until 2 a.m. I love you. I do want to be included occasionally, but I also would love to get together at like 5 a.m. with my peeps that follow the same pathway.
For me, the group I see that's underserved that I would like to bring some more oomph and power behind is the demo team. We've done some great stuff, but I imagine we could do even more if we had more people and more resources to allocate to demos.
Yeah, we did actually talk a little bit about nope, you know what? I lost my train of thought. It's gone. Let's go.
On that note, moving on to Jack and Jeff.
Yay!
Maybe. Okay.
Maybe the guy that
All right.
runs the cable with internet from there to here. That's a really underserved place. That's not a strength of mine. I'm a lot like a golden retriever. I'm happy and I see things, but it takes active sadness sometimes for me to be much more aware of these things than I am.
You know, I mean, first thought I had initially reading that question was sort of things that don't really feel as noticed. Like an example, I mean, I'd notice it, and I know some folks do, but Terra Pomaria has an orchestra, and I think that's awesome. I partially was thinking about it because my mother is a music major, and I just spent the whole weekend with her, and so I really think it's awesome we have musicians in our barony because not every barony has that. I don't even think most of the summits even has an orchestra, just us. And I think it'd be great to uplift the musicians, but I also don't know how much time and bandwidth they have for that. So it kind of comes down to asking them how they feel we could better support them and actually making that effort to reach out to see what they would feel they need. Like I know we used them at Feast of Apple and Song a couple of years ago, and I believe they were at the last Long and Short. I had it as part of the Bardic area. But also similarly with families, if we notice there are some families in the barony that only show up sometimes, maybe doing an informal sort of reach out to them of, hey, when you get a moment, would you mind giving us some feedback on things that you think would be fun for the kids to do? Or touching base with folks that are having success already with activities such as Master Quinn and his hobby horse stuff. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to kind of network and figure out like if these 5 activities maybe could be offered at an event for your kids to participate in, or the silly Bardic I actually made a couple of years ago. You had to execute that for me because that's when I broke my leg like a week before the event or something like that. But
Anything to get out of
things that'll
running.
engage the kids and what they think will make their kids want to actually come back, of reach out to the people that feel underserved. um, yeah, or just members that don't show up as often. I mean, it could be as simple as Adele's idea with the live stream of just see what they think would serve them best and then figure out what's something the barony can realistically do to make that less of a challenge, because it's not always as simple as, well, we can do what you want us to do. We don't always have the resources or the people. But we could probably try to find a solution.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay. Only 2 questions left. Everybody take a breath. You'll survive. So, starting with Christmas and Weiston, how would you support and bring attention to marginalized and underrepresented groups within Terra Pomaria?
One of the things that we were talking about before was doing demos and trying to include officers and more things and getting deputies and that kind of stuff. I think that can be expanded. Well, we think that it can be expanded to sort of a broader idea. Using youth as an example, when I first started in the SCA, youth did what the adults did, maybe on a smaller scale, maybe for shorter amounts of time. But in terms of learning to sew or weave, or I know all my stuff is arts and science based, but doing the similar kind of activities. And when we had boffers, there were children like super young. And were they doing a lot with it? No, but the idea was that they were getting to do the same things that all the adults were. So they were a part of rather than separate. And I think there are some ways, like with the watch party style thing or something, where we can essentially be reaching out so that all areas of the community can feel a part of the project or be a part of the project within the parameters of their economic, travelability, all of the things that play a part in someone's access to the community.
Jack and Jeff? I see the video moving, but I'm not hearing any sound.
Okay, I think I made it work. So my brain actually, I don't know if this is how you intended the question. It jumped to DEI. Part of resources and the whole focus of it is DEI. Is this any better? Maybe.
Yeah,
Testing.
it caught up. It just really bad.
Partially because of the human resources. Okay. All right. But yeah, so it jumped to that. And it's a very real thing. We have a DEI officer to try and educate people for the SCA, but it's a misunderstood role. I think it could be networked with and utilized a lot better on a baronial level. For example, we even have a member of our barony that they thought they were supposed to reach out to the DEI officer when they were feeling that they had an issue as a marginalized person with another member of our group. And we had to figure out, no, actually, that'd be more the seneschal, but it still doesn't hurt to have more awareness and education on inclusivity in our barony. We have a lot of people of different ethnicities, different cultures, different backgrounds of gender or who they love. And so, especially in the summits at large, I think we're a very lovely rainbow principality, and it really doesn't hurt to have more awareness of that. And so it does come back to somewhat reaching out to the folks themselves, but it's not their responsibility to educate us either. It'd certainly be appreciated if they're willing to have those conversations and communications. But mainly, I think talking with the DEI officers at kingdom level and trying to integrate that maybe a little bit more of the educational aspects to just kind of our general populace and hurt. I don't know. I don't feel like it's really my responsibility from where I come from in life to speak for people whose stories I have not lived myself, but it is my responsibility, especially if chosen as a baroness, to help champion them and support them in their own voices and make them feel like they have voices here and that they are welcome. And
Well, a lot of what she said, this is another one of those places where I am admittedly weaker. I again, the golden retriever. I want everybody to come and have fun. And if there's barriers to having fun, I want to help them overcome the barrier to having fun. But the finer points of that are not my strong suit. And that's why I have somebody smart to help me.
And Rafe and Adele.
Yes, thank you. So I would like to be crystal clear on this point that we believe in human rights, love is love, and kindness is everything. That's a little bit of a paraphrase of Finn and Eduardo. I believe that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Get that out of the way. We actually included some of our thoughts on that in our letter of intent. If you'll bear with me for a moment, I'd like to actually read that, what is important to us. So here was from our letter. We wish to foster the kind of community where people feel seen, valued, and inspired to contribute. We know how much it matters to be welcomed, guided, and invited, and it's important to help people feel there's a place for them in the barony of Terra Pomaria. We are particularly concerned for our aging populace, as well as those with physical and hidden challenges such as chronic illness, neurodivergent, hearing and visual impairment, and mobility issues. We appreciate when effort is put into making participation easier for people, and we believe in fostering inclusivity, defending human rights, and advocating for equality. We stand in solidarity with those who identify as LGBTQ+. As from our letter, I also want to point out that 3 of our 5 children are in the queer community, so it's very, very personal to us. Thank you for your patience on my being able to read that to you.
Well, thank you for sharing. And also, I want to thank all of the pairs just for putting yourselves forward. I have been through this process. It is not a lot of fun. It is a lot of stress and it is a lot of work. So, opportunity to have you guys end on a high note. Starting with Jack and Jeff, the last question that I have prepared: what do you want your legacy as the Baron and Baroness to be?
Well, you know, having been Prince, everybody can take a drink if they're playing along tonight. Um, you never for sure know what that's going to be, despite all of your highfalutin ideals at the beginning. One of the things I've learned at the end, though, is what means the most to me down the road is for someone to come up and say, when I started, you were my first prince. If we're chosen, I hope that down the road that's one of the things that I can encounter from someone to say, hey, you were the first prince. You showed me something different and really excited me. Or Baron. Sorry. Yeah. You were my first guy that had a shiny thing on top of his head. But once upon a time, I had no idea how powerful that was. And realizing that's something that I carry in my heart now. And I know that's something I can also, by the same token, ruin somebody's entire career or darken it. But in the end, I hope that there are people that say, I saw you and that inspired me. And that's as good a legacy as I think anybody can really hope for. If they're me.
Similarly to Jeff, I don't really mind if I'm the first, second, fifth, or 20th Baron and Baroness somebody is known. But similarly, I would like to be remembered as being one that was friendly and kind and not just giving placating niceties of, oh yeah, everybody's welcome here and this is a great place, and then not being encouraging. I would really hope that someone said, hey, you were someone that I saw as welcoming me in and connecting me to other people that have similar interests to me, encouraging me to try like the drum circles or to try some type of fighting, even though I had no idea what I was doing. And that really helped me become something I am today. Or I figured out that one didn't work for me, but it led me to my next passion that I've been doing for a while. So, I mean, really just kind of being remembered for being kind and encouraging, I think would be a great one, and supporting the barony so that it feels like we left it in at least better spirits at the end. Even if everything else maybe isn't strictly as great as we would hope, hopefully not worse for wear, hopefully a lot happier place to be. Because I first came into Terra Pomaria and had heard some mild horror stories from pre-COVID, and the folks who told them to me went, "Oh, wow, you're right. This place doesn't seem like how I remembered it. It seems a lot kinder." So I want to add to that legacy of continuing the kindness.
Thank you. And Adele and Rafe.
Um, we would hope to be remembered as a link in the chain of the fealty and service that has shaped Terra Pomaria so far. Our goal would be to ensure that every member of the barony, newcomer or not, or longtime member, feels seen, heard, and valued. We hope to leave a stronger barony than when we started, more connected, whose future leaders are encouraged and ready to take their own place when that time comes.
And I would like to say that Terra Pomaria has had a strong role in shaping who I've become, and some of my deepest joys have been being part of this barony. So I would hope for, if we were selected, for our time to be remembered as a joyful time in the history of Terra Pomaria.
And Christmas in Wisdom.
Leave a giant trail of Christmas spirit in my wake. Similar to what Jack was saying, kindness and curiosity, starting from kindness and curiosity, always a formula for success across the board. My biggest things, I love the endless possibilities to learn, and Terra Pomaria in particular has been very supportive of the way that I learn and my slow pace of growing in many cases. So I would love to just encourage more of that and have that be, no matter how awkward, no matter how weird it has, the growth and the learning that can take place again and again in all different varieties of ways can be celebrated and a beautiful thing.
Yeah. My personal idea would be to see the barony grow regardless of the challenges that we may face and see the people grow in the barony.
Okay, again, thank you to our candidates. I don't see any other questions popping up in the chat. If you didn't see, I did throw in a message in there saying if you had additional questions, throw them in the chat. It is getting late tonight, and even with me cutting out a few questions, we did hit it all the way to the wire of 9 o'clock. Uh, so,
Huzzah for Kenji.
um, if you do have additional questions and you're still here, go ahead and throw them in the chat, or you can also send them to the chronicler email, the Terra Primaria chronicler email. I will look at putting them in for the or the meeting tomorrow. For those of you unaware, there is a in-person meet and greet at well, it was supposed to be during archery practice, but archery has been canceled. But we're still going to be hosting it at Stonehenge Farms in Almsville, starting technically at 7 o'clock, though I'm probably going to get out there a little earlier with some day shades because it is supposed to get really hot, so outside might be a little bit better. Your Excellencies, do you have any last words before I say everybody go home and get some sleep?
I am looking forward to seeing how tomorrow goes. I should be able to be there. But besides that, I would think that you should tell us to go home and get some sleep. Your Excellency, do you have any additional input?
I was just going to say thank you, Kenji, for organizing this and for the advertisement about needing officers, and thank you to the candidates for giving such well thought out answers.
And with that, everybody go home, get some sleep. Good night, and uh, we will try to have the in-person meet and greet still have a online presence as well for those who aren't able to travel.